Zelch, and I'm the Chair of Faith Development here at East Shore. Please note in your order of service that there have been some subtle changes to today's service. I would like you to know that you are welcome here today, no matter who you are. There is nothing about you that we will not hold in grace. For we believe that we are each a being of beauty. Our many differences are what make us cherished. What others may consider flaws, we know makes us perfect. We are all welcomed here, and we rejoice in joining together today to give thanks. I would like to share with you a prayer written by UU Minister Karen G. Johnston. Ancestors who spoke with bravest fire, lend us your senses that we may know another world is on her way, breathed into life with our participation and her creation. Forebears who led the way where there was at first no way, lend us your persistence, your temerity, your assurance that the moral arc of the universe does indeed bend towards justice. Ones who went before us, sacrificing for a future not your own, help us to give of ourselves, that the common stones in our hands today might be cathedrals of compassion today, halls of restorative justice tomorrow, sheltering walls of beloved community the day after. It is Sunday morning, the day we gather. Let us be thankful and full of praise to be in the company of those who came before, yet are ever in our midst.
Good morning, everybody. I would like to ask you to look in your order of service and pull out the call and response for What Shall We Give Thanks by Laura Horton Ludwig. You will be reading the italicized words. The wheel of the year has turned again. Once more, Thanksgiving season has arrived. How shall we sing our song of gratitude now? For what shall we give thanks?
For this moment, for friends near and far, for our breath.
For love, for courage and clarity, for strength, for delight, for laughter, for beauty.
For the tables around which we gather, for the food we enjoy with friends, seasoned with love and memory.
For the sun and the moon and the stars in the sky, for the trees who have seen so much and still stand proud, stretching themselves to the sky.
For the bright voices of children, for the wisdom of elders, for actions that bless the world, for hard work that makes difference.
For music and art and celebration, for generosity, for compassion, for endurance, for joy, for hope.
For all these things we give thanks as we worship together.
Today's story for all ages is one that we've read in past Thanksgiving services. This year being the 400th anniversary of the first harvest meal, it felt appropriate to read it again. I give you, Thank You, Sarah, the Woman Who Saved Thanksgiving, by Lori Halse Anderson and Matt Faulkner. You think you know everything about Thanksgiving, don't you? How the Native Americans saved the Pilgrims from starving. How the Pilgrims held a big feast to celebrate and say thank you. Turkey, pumpkin pie, cranberries, the works. Well, listen up. I have a news flash. We almost lost Thanksgiving. Didn't know that, did you? Well, it's true. Way back, when skirts were long and hats were tall, Thanksgiving was fading away. Sure, the folks up in New England celebrated it. They'd roast a turkey and invite their relatives when the harvest came in. But not in the South, not in the West, not even in the mid-Atlantic states. More and more people ignored the holiday. Thanksgiving was in trouble. It needed a superhero. No, not that kind. Thanksgiving needed a real superhero. Someone bold and brave and stubborn and smart. Thanksgiving needed Sarah Hale. Now, I know what you're thinking. She doesn't look like a superhero. She looks like a dainty little lady. Well, I'm here to tell you, never underestimate dainty little ladies. Sarah Hale was every inch a superhero. Not only did she fight for Thanksgiving, she fought for playgrounds for kids, schools for girls, and historical monuments for everyone. She argued against spanking, pies for breakfast, dole stories, corsets and bloomers and bustles, and very serious things like slavery. And if that weren't enough, she raised 5 children, wrote poetry, children's books, novels, and biographies, was the first female magazine editor in America, published great American authors like Henry Wadsworth Longfellow and Edgar Allan Poe, and composed Mary Had a Little Lamb. How did she do all of these things? She was bold, brave, stubborn, and smart. And Sarah Hale had a secret weapon, a pen. When Sarah saw something she didn't like, she picked up her pen and wrote about it. She wrote letters. She wrote articles. She wrote and wrote and wrote until she persuaded people to make the world a better place. Nothing stopped Sarah. Sarah Hale loved Thanksgiving. She wanted the whole country to celebrate it on the same day. When folks started to ignore Thanksgiving, well, that just curdled her gravy. She picked up her pen. She wrote letters, thousands of letters, asking politicians to make Thanksgiving a national holiday. She wrote magazine articles asking her readers for help. The women of America listened. They put down their babies, their hoes, their skillets, and their washing. They picked up their pens and wrote. When the letters arrived, the politicians listened too. One by one, the states officially made Thanksgiving a holiday. But it wasn't good enough. Sarah Hale wanted the whole country to celebrate together, like a family. She went to the top. She wrote to the president himself, Zachary Taylor. He refused. Did that stop Sarah? No. She waited for the next election and wrote to the new president, Millard Fillmore. He said no too. Did that stop Sarah? No. She was bold, brave, stubborn, and smart. Sarah wrote to the next president, Franklin Pierce. Wouldn't a national day of Thanksgiving be wonderful? No, Pierce grumbled. Sarah penned an elegant letter to President James Buchanan. She gave all the reasons why America would be better off if everyone gathered on the 4th Thursday in November to give thanks. President Buchanan disagreed. He had other things on his mind. Sarah felt like the stuffing had been kicked out of her. Everything was going wrong. America was at war, the North against the South. States that had promised to celebrate Thanksgiving changed their mind. The country was falling apart. It was a bleak and scary time. Did that stop Sarah? No way, nothing stops Sarah. Superheroes work the hardest when things get tough. Sarah picked up her mighty pen and wrote another letter, this time to President Abraham Lincoln. America needed Thanksgiving now more than ever. A holiday wouldn't stop the war, but it could help bring the country together. She signed the letter, folded it, and slid it into an envelope. She wrote Mr. Lincoln's name and address on the envelope and stuck on a stamp. She mailed the letter. She waited, and she waited, and then Lincoln said yes. Lincoln said yes. In 1863, President Lincoln made Thanksgiving a national holiday, a day for all Americans to give thanks together. It took Sarah Hale 38 years, thousands of letters, and countless bottles of ink, but she did it. Nothing stopped Sarah. That bold, brave, stubborn, and smart lady saved Thanksgiving for all of us. Thank you, Sarah.
Today, I'm now going to share with you our joys and cares that have been written in the book and a few that were shared with me. So first of all, on a positive note, or negative note, those of you who had not heard, Judy Willauer fell and broke her hip. However, they did get her into surgery really quickly. Surgery went incredibly well, and she is now recuperating at the hospital after the surgery and will then be going to rehab for 3 or 4 weeks before she goes home. They do ask that not everybody call them, and right now they don't need a whole bunch of phone calls, but they absolutely would love cards and letters. So if you could send that right now. Also, Ron doesn't really need help at the moment, but once Judy comes home, he will need help with things like meals and maybe sitting with her when he has to run out of the house for a meeting or an appointment. Also, I would like to let you know and ask you please to send out prayers and healing energy to Kendall Artino, who's now home from the hospital and is still having to deal with leakage from her spinal cord. And lastly, I would like to know that someone has asked us to give thanks for all the safe houses for alcohol-abused women and recovering alcoholics, as my daughter is now living in one in Cleveland. Yes, in our hearts, we give thanks for everybody, all of us, who in one way or another have struggled and or are struggling with an addiction. I'd also like for us to offer a prayer and to give and think of and give healing energy to everybody who has been sent over, is homeless and struggling and not knowing where they're going to go and what's going on with all the Afghanistan refugees, and for those who are homeless and alone and have no roof over their head this season. Now we'll have a moment of silent meditation, and when we're done, if you put all your thoughts and prayers into stones you have in your hand from the bowl back there, if you don't, just hold them in your hands and then pick up a stone when we're done. And when I ring the bell, we can come forward and place the stones in the center here. be at peace with ourselves and one another.
vibrant and full of life, untarnished by woe. And now we celebrate the plenty, the joys of so many, the blood that was spilled, celebrated with a goblet filled. Victory in a game only we were playing, all the senseless slang. Though it seems lackluster, no longer a blockbuster, underlaid by guilt for the sins of the nation we built. Why is no mystery? We cannot rewrite history. It's no secret that we hide, even for all we have lied. We live on a home built on a foundation of bones. I say this as a reminder. Let us stop, simply remember.
So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Halcyon Domanski, and I am the Director of Faith Development here at Unitarian Universalist Church. And today's homily is about holding truths. This year, everyone is all excited to be celebrating the 400th year of Thanksgiving. But is it really? Let me share some history with you. Okay, let me sum up. First of all, the Pilgrims who landed on Plymouth Rock, which, by the way, was like their 6th landing and their 2nd time actually at Plymouth, it was not a one-and-done trip, were Puritans. As part of their faith, they did not have celebrations the way we do. Not even Christmas, which they felt was too pagan. For them, a Thanksgiving celebration was a time of fasting and prayer. However, there was one time a year that they did have a party, and that was the Harvest Festival, where they would gather for feasts and prayers and playing games. Now, the Puritans that landed on the rock arrived about 6 months later than they had planned to. They kept having to go back to England because of leaky boats. And they found themselves at the beginning of winter with not much to eat. By spring, only half the people who landed were still alive, and of those people, only 4 of them were women. So they go about trying to grow food, which is not going well at all. And then comes in this Indian, and he speaks English. Now, if you read the letters of the people living at that time, they believe that this individual was a gift from God. He was actually a Native American that was taken to England and made a slave, escaped, and when he found his way back to his homeland, found all his people gone from disease. He was taken into a neighboring tribe and was either made a slave again or brought in with welcoming arms. That one is an iffy thing in history. Now, this American was not there out of the goodness of his heart, but to make treaty with the white people to boost their tribe's members and resist neighboring tribes which they were at war with. After negotiations, learning from each other, and a bountiful harvest, the Pilgrims held a harvest festival and invited their allies, who also had a harvest festival, to join. It is this harvest festival that everyone claims is the first Thanksgiving, and subsequently is now the 400th anniversary of it. But was it the first? Was it in 1637, 16 years after that meal, that Governor Winthrop named the official day and festival and Thanksgiving for the safe return of a hunting party? It's rarely mentioned that the hunting party did not come back from hunting deer and the like, but rather was coming home after killing 700 men, women, and children of the Pequot tribe. In fact, in his proclamation, Governor Winthrop thanked God for his help in eradicating the heathens. Then Thanksgiving Day started happening several times a year for successful hunting parties of genocide. In fact, there became so many of them, it was decided there would only be one a year in celebration of all the successful hunts. So the first Thanksgiving is the first one officially proclaimed in 1637, and it was whitewashed for the white people. Who is it? Is Thanksgiving the one we heard about in our story earlier, when President Lincoln proclaimed that Thanksgiving Day, when on October 3rd, 1789, George Washington issued his first Thanksgiving proclamation, designating for the people of the United States a day of public Thanksgiving. Washington had held many days of Thanksgiving after successful battles and raids during the Revolutionary War, and this one was to celebrate the independence, winning independence, and establishing a body of government. So the first Thanksgiving was in 1789 to celebrate winning the war. Or was it Lincoln, who on October 3rd, 1863, expressing gratitude for a pivotal Union Army victory at Gettysburg, announces that the nation will celebrate an official Thanksgiving holiday on November 26th? Still about war. Now, I do not tell you this very, very abbreviated history to belittle Thanksgiving or to make it shameful. I personally, and I truly personally believe that Thanksgiving was a harvest festival, a celebration for me and mine, surviving another year, and food to see us through to the next planting. I feel it's about giving thanks for what I have received and to be grateful for what I have in my life. But that does not mean ignoring all the horrible truths about Thanksgiving. Nothing in life is so simple and sweet as that first Thanksgiving story we were all taught in school. Nothing. The very first one was connected to war. Not to mention, they were all still mourning half the people they had landed with, who were gone. How does taking away all these ugly truths make Thanksgiving better? Well, in my opinion, it doesn't. In fact, it turns something that could be powerful and healing and makes it trite. What was not part of that first Thanksgiving, that first harvest festival, giving thanks to God and asking for forgiveness? Of course it was. They were Puritans. In this month's curriculum packet, one of the articles that was recommended for reading was Why Confederate Lies Live On. It's written by Clint Smith, who is a person of color, and it's an amazingly well-written article. I have a copy of it if anybody wants one. His article is about his time interviewing people who came to visit the Bladford Cemetery in Petersburg, Virginia. And one of the days he is there at the cemetery interviewing the people is the 4th of July. Now, this cemetery holds one of the largest burial sites of Confederate soldiers. There's over 300,000 Confederate soldiers buried at the cemetery. And on Independence Day, there's a huge celebration with games and picnicking and fireworks. and being proud of being an American. In the article, he interviews people who believe the Civil War was really about money and politics and not about slavery. And this is what they taught us in school. And I know they taught us this because it's what I was taught in school. They also believed that only the rich, only the 1%ers owned slaves. And again, this is taught in school. Not everyone was evil and wicked to slaves, why some slaves were educated and set free. Again, school. And even free black people had slaves. School. Now, all of these things are true except for one. It was without a doubt 100% about slavery. But the people at the cemetery did not want to face the horrors of slavery. They did not want to see their ancestors' involvement with slavery. They did not want to see how their lives are better today because of slavery. They wanted to celebrate this great nation's freedom and ignore the facts on which this great nation was built on. And the people in the South are not the only ones who refuse to see the truth. And again, I don't say this to place blame or make accusations. It's just the truth. This nation was built on the backs of slaves, and Thanksgiving was about war treaties and killing. So how can we celebrate the Thanksgiving of families coming together in joy with the confusing and brutal history of the holiday? How can we be proud and thankful for this nation and acknowledge the horrors that built it? We hold the truth in our hands, in our hearts, and in our thoughts. We honor those lives that were sacrificed, be they our ancestors or killed by our ancestors. We honor the ancestors that did the killing. Yes, even them. Because all men are created equal, be it good or bad. History would have been very different if the chief who made the treaties with those first pilgrims had listened to the rest of his nation and killed those white people. Human history is brutal. The white people did not bring brutality to the U.S. It was here with the humans that lived here. We are the ones that benefit the most from the history that did happen. And we do need to own that. And we need to be thankful for our bounty and ask forgiveness for our trespasses and to forgive those who trespass against us. So when I wrote that down, I wanted to, wait a minute, what exactly does that mean? Because this non-Christian wasn't sure. So I looked it up, and it means to commit an unlawful injury to a person, property, or rights of another with actual or implied force of violence, especially to enter another one's land wrongfully. So do you think the Puritans and the slave owners felt that they were trespassing? I mean, come on, talk about entering somebody else's land. Do you think that you have to be white or Jewish or Christian or Domanski in order to trespass? Because it's part of their prayer? No. None of us, be we of color or not, native or immigrant, richer or poorer, of Abrahamic religions or pagan, none of us all heal from our history until we hold the truth to the light so that it can be self-evident. So this year, let us give thanks and be joyful for all we have in our lives, because we have a lot. Ask for forgiveness. All make mistakes. I made a couple today with the order of service. Let us be grateful and forgiven. Let us hold our truths and honor our history. That history that lived in Joe described last week. Warts and all. Gai Elohi Gini Luda, Luda wa Gini Risi, Elohi Gini Tis, Giri Liga, Sidini Liu, O Sali Iliga. Sky our grandfather, Moon our grandmother, Earth our mother. I am thankful we love each other. We are grateful. After the service, is there somebody who couldn't come today for whatever reason and you know you're going to see them later? Please come up and get them bread. And please come up and get more bread to take home. Because if this bread ends up sitting here, this blessed bread will go to my chickens. Because I can't get that much of it. I mean, I could, but I should. So today, our offering of gifts, and I really didn't write anything down. It's Thanksgiving. Give and be grateful if you can. If it's your first time here, please let the basket pass you by as our guest, or welcome guest.
monetary gifts today, which of course are important, but mostly for your presence. For all of you who are sitting here, who came this morning, and for all of you who are watching online. You are the church. We together are this church, not the building, not the land. It's every one of us sitting here together that allows us to live out our mission to love, revere, discover, and connect. And so I thank you very much for being here.
Setting aside historical issues and moving forward as Thanksgiving has evolved, we've chosen Thanksgiving song by Mary Chapin Carpenter. And the words are not really well understood when we're wearing masks, so I'd like to read them to you. Grateful for each hand we hold, gathered round this table. From far and near we traveled home. Blessed that we are able. Grateful for this sheltered place with light in every window. Say welcome, welcome, share this feast. Come in away from sorrow. Father, mother, daughter, son, neighbor, friend, and friendless. All together, everyone, in the gift of loving kindness. Grateful for what's understood and all that is forgiven. We try so hard to be good, to lead a life worth living. Father, mother, daughter, son, neighbor, friend, and friendless. All together, everyone. Let grateful days be endless. Grateful for each hand we hold, gathered round this table.
Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the mirror. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn, that is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away tonight. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are. Red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life, who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them. Listen to them. They are living poems. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember you are all people, and all people are you. Remember you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember language comes from this. Remember the dance language is, that life is. Remember. Please stand and join hands if you are willing and able, and join with the bond of union. We join hands in Unitarian Universalist fellowship, pledging ourselves to an individual religious freedom which transcends all creeds, not to make alike, but to journey together.
As I extinguish this chalice, may it stay lit within each of us until we gather once again.